Hello, welcome back once again. It is time for the 31 days of Halloween. It is day 22. It is. And I hope you're doing well. We finished our vampire series, and we're returning to more conventional horror movies, or is this an unconventional horror movie? I'll say it's unconventional because this is psychological horror mixed with a few very significant special effects scenes, practical special effects scenes as well. And this more has to do with being trapped, being held hostage. And this is a horror movie. This is 1990's Misery, starring James Caan and Kathy Bates, who won the Oscar for this role. Indeed. This is adapted from a Stephen King novel. Had a great screenwriter in William Goldman. William Goldman was the screenwriter, and its director is Rob Reiner, and you know his other movies, such as this is Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride. I'm looking at the wrong page. Rob Reiner, he's a second generation Hollywood man. His father was Carl Reiner, who lived to be 97, 98 years old, and Carl Reiner was a renowned comedian, actor, writer, producer, and director, and had a big impact on Hollywood and comedy in the 50s and 60s. And so Rob Reiner was the second generation artist, comedian, writer, director. He got his biggest break on the very popular ABC TV show All in the Family, where he played a great balance to the cantankerous anti-hero of Archie Bunker. He played the young, idealistic, and ideological son-in-law that he never wanted. And so it played very, very, very well. It had really good, sharp social commentary, and but Rob Reiner, after leaving the show, had to break out of that TV mentality. I mean, Hollywood back then, it was a little bit judgmental of TV people. They were of a different breed or something. I mean, so it was hard for him to break through and make his bones into Hollywood. And let's see, he's done this is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me. That was his first Stephen King adaptation. He did Princess Bride in 1987. William Goldman also wrote that book, and he did his own screenplay. Yeah, he did When Harry Met Sally, that famous 1989 romantic comedy with Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. Did Misery. He did A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise, Demi Moore, and Jack Nicholson. Let's see, he's been working ever since. And there was a time in the 80s where everything Rob Reiner touched was gold. So this was like coming to the end of that run. He did North, he did in 94, he did The American President, which was huge. That was Michael Douglas and Annette Bening. The Ghost of Mississippi and The Story of Us. And then after that, I mean, just like that was the end of the 20th century. But in the 80s, Rob Reiner brought really, really good movies to us. And they were thoughtful. They were very well shot. I actually watched this with his director commentary track. I love watching director commentary tracks because they're so insightful to the art. And he was talking about the casting. Lauren Bacall's in this. She plays Paul Sheldon's agent. Paul Sheldon is James Caan here. James Caan is a famous writer of the Misery books. Misery Chastain is the heroine of his, and the protagonist of his long-running series. And he's wrote a new book about a new subject. He wants to get away from misery. He wants to do other things. and he's written a script for it. He's written a first draft for a new book, and he's got it, and he's been writing it in this remote locale that he goes to, and he's about to bring it back to the big city to show his agent, and on the way he gets into a car accident, and as luck would have it, or his story would have it rather, he is saved by his world's biggest fan, the Kathy Bates, who plays Anne, and who is actually he's actually hostage to this person with is she evil? Is she mentally ill? She might be evil, because we find in the second act her scrapbook, and she may have killed her ex-husband. She may have been responsible. She's a nurse, or she was a nurse, but she was responsible and held accountable for a string of infant deaths in these hospitals. She had all these creepy cuttings of different newspapers over time where she's worked, and where all of these strange deaths have occurred. So Paul Sheldon knows that he's not getting out of this. Yeah, interesting. And so this movie's got, it's really simple. It's stark. It's a character piece. It could have been done on a stage. This could be like a stage production. Seriously, it's so black box theater at times. Now there are times where you get out of Paul's captivity, and because it's basically set in the house, in Annie's house. Amy Wilkes, I'm your biggest fan, and this is it's just all psychological, and it's physical horror too. Physical, about being literally crippled and being just tortured into doing something that you don't want to do, and that what Annie has him do is write a new Misery book, because the new Misery book had just come out, and he ends this her Misery Chastain's adventures with her death through by giving childbirth, and this is Annie's tipping point, and Annie then becomes abusive. So there's a lot to unpack here about abusive relationships, and about stalking, and about just unhealthy fandoms, perhaps. I'm part of a fandom that, we always object to modern interpretations and modernizations, and why can't we have good stuff, and why does there have to be messaging in all of our escapism, and this is, we're perceived by these creators, these younger creators too, coming from academia. I'm a blue-collar, middle-aged fan who's been a fan. I mean, and we're treated like Amy Wilkes, like that. We don't appreciate what we're given. Our opinion is moot, or is it, when we have the leverage of abuse? I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack here in Misery. I found it quite thrilling. It was really good to watch. I loved hearing Rob Reiner talk about his movie while watching it. It throws another dimension onto it. It's survival horror. It's tension building. There's setup and payoffs. There's wonderful relationships, such as the sheriff and his wife here. Touching. Great relationships, and tragic. A tragic end for our sheriff here as well, who is he's got a touch on his nose. He's got a little itch on his nose. He just knows that Paul Sheldon is probably alive out there somewhere, and they didn't find a body. What happened to Paul Sheldon? So he's being the detective and following his leads. And it's a great B story. It really is. It shows great balance. We have two relationships, this wonderful loving relationship and this old couple, and this abusive psychotic relationship. And then I hate using those kind of descriptors, because I am not a mental health professional, and there is something like unfair treatment of people with real issues, especially in fiction. And so, but yeah, is Amy Wilkes evil? Maybe, just maybe, considering what led her here, and her body count. She's a serial killer, and has no empathy, and and all of her goodness is performative. And Kathy Bates here deserved this Oscar. This is such a tour de force. It really is. And the symbolism, too, of using the typewriter, the old royal cast iron typewriter, as his way of being freed out of his captivity. I think there's a lot to unpack there visually. That's pure metaphor. It really is. And it's subtle, and it's not on the nose, and it doesn't have to be explained to you. And it's something that you can unpack after a few different viewings of this. And it's why this is a good movie. And this is a really, really good horror movie. Oh, and there's our director right there, Marty DeBurgi. From This Is Spinal Tap. Yeah, we were lucky he wasn't wearing an Oral C cap again. No, but that was Rob Reiner in his uncredited cameo as the helicopter pilot right there. And but yeah, this is a psychological thriller. This is about human horror. There's nothing supernatural here. There's no magic. There's no vampires. There are no cross is going to protect you. This is about survival, and this is about human will against human will, and against me, and definitely an unbalanced person, really, and also the impact that fandoms and our voice can have on creators as well. This is a 32-year-old movie, and we've never quite had a culture like we do today, being so interconnected with social media and the ability to communicate with our creators of our different fictions, and whether they're movies, comic books, TV shows, tabletop video games, sports, you name it. These entertainers are accessible and might shock you with their opinion or their acceptance or rejection of your opinion. And this is about having the leverage of harm to get what you want. That's something to unpack here. And this movie resounds today. I think this movie is quite relevant and quite good. And I will totally tell you on the 22nd day of Halloween, I would totally tell you to watch Misery with James Caan and Kathy Bates, courtesy of my DVD and Blu-ray shelf. We're doing things the post-geek singularity way. I was reminded by Robert Meyer Burnett about the importance of physical media. And so I am diving to my shelves. I have a stack of 30-odd DVDs that we're doing this 31 days of Halloween. 31 different horror movies all through the course of October. I hope you're having a great time. I am. I love talking about movies. I love talking to you about movies, and you can continue this conversation in the comments section. Please, keep it coming. Keep those comments coming. I really enjoy that. You are literally the most important part of this show, this conversation we're having. And so, hope that you caught up on Misery. I hope you liked the show here today. And please, I am your number one fan. Oh, what a great ending! This is such a well-paced movie. Everything's put together so nicely. It's got a really decent running time of about an hour and 50 minutes. And you'll never get the image of that out of your head about what Annie does to Paul. You'll never get that out of your head, ever. Seriously, it's one of those indelible movie moments. And it's a horror movie, and it's horrific, and it's gruesome. And you've been warned. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. We talk about comic books every day. We're talking about horror movies every day. In October, check out the playlist right over here, the 31 Days of Halloween. Give me your suggestions. I'm connected to a nice Twitter mob that we're all telling each other what we're watching these 31 days of Halloween. And it's been awesome. I'm having a great time, and I hope you are too. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow. Cheers. Bye-bye.